This nation was founded on righteous foundations, like the right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Now seems to be crumbling around us. How did this happen? Were we warned? Yes, we were warned. Besides the Book of Mormon, which prophesies of evil groups usurping power in the darkness and in the shadows, there are other prophets that have also warned of this same type of evil. And today we will be discussing one such prophecy called Ezra's eagle. We wanted to thank and welcome our guest star today. This is Ricky. She's our bird, and we thought doing Ezra's eagle and bringing her in as a, somewhat of an eagle would be fun.
Okay.
Whoa! Never start with a hard ass. That's
Today we're really excited. This is actually a video we've been anxious to film it for a long time. Ezra's eagle. We've been researching and reading about this prophecy for a couple years now, and now we're finally doing a video with the bird Ezra today.
Yeah, the eagle.
Before we get into all the particulars of this prophecy, know that this prophecy is about a kingdom. It's called an eagle, but just like John the Revelator likened nations and kingdoms to beasts, this kingdom, according to Ezra, was likened unto an eagle. And so today we're going to talk about this eagle, this nation that was foretold would be the most powerful nation in the world in the last days.
And it's found in the Apocrypha, which refers to around 18, depending on who's counting, ancient writings that are not included in our King James Version of the Bible. They were taken out of the King James Version of the Bible in 1885. So that means that Joseph Smith, the pioneers, they all had these Apocrypha books in their Bible. Second Ezra, which is where this vision that Ezra has of this giant eagle is included in the Apocrypha. It's one of those 18 books. Now, there's a lot of debate about the Apocrypha books. There shouldn't be, but there is. And the reason there shouldn't be is found in Doctrine and Covenants, section 91. It says, Doctrine and Covenants, section 91, verily, starting in verse 1, verily thus saith the Lord unto you concerning the Apocrypha, there are many things contained therein that are true, and it is mostly translated correctly. There are many things contained therein that are not true, which are interpolations by the hands of men. Verily I say unto you that it is not needful that the Apocrypha should be translated. Therefore, whoso readeth it, let him understand, for the Spirit manifesteth truth. And whoso is enlightened by the Spirit shall obtain benefit therefrom. The Lord has told us there's benefit in this. He's told us there's a lot of truth in that. If you've read the Apocrypha, you can kind of tell what he's referring to as what hasn't been interpreted correctly and what is, interpolation.
When we first started looking at this, that's where I went. I said, okay, wait a minute. What's the Apocrypha? So if you haven't already done that, that's on you.
That's true.
But I also want to say this.
Okay, you said.
Something that's very important is that also in the Bible dictionary, it talks about, under Apocrypha, it specifically talks about the first and second books of Esdras as being especially important to people like us.
But I really like that verse in Doctrine and Covenants. What is it, section 91? Which kind of segues really nicely into Rush. Michael B. Rush was one of those people that took those writings and used the Spirit to decipher its meaning. Up until that point, nobody really knew what that nation was. And people suspected it was Rome. but it doesn't really jive well with Rome. And so, I think people just kind of brushed it off as, oh, it's Apocrypha, it's we don't know. Until Michael B. Rush, who is, just so we are very clear, not a prophet.
He is sponsoring this video, though.
We hope.
Please. He is a member of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, and he writes books. He studies. He does a very good job studying. He uses the Spirit for personal revelation. And while he was writing one of his books, that thought came to his mind. He was pondering on 2nd Ezra's, and he had that thought, and he ran to the library and mapped out Ezra's eagle with our nation.
I appreciate Michael B. Rush. He's just one of those voices who's finding truth in Scripture and sharing it. But we also know that this is just his interpretation. Tonight we're going to talk about his interpretation. We may feel differently than his interpretation, which, we might voice our own opinions, but this is his interpretation. There are others out there.
It's kind of like in the Book of Mormon, Isaiah, where Nephi says that in the latter days they're gonna understand Isaiah. They're gonna understand this. And as we get closer and closer to the last days, I feel like I've understood and have enjoyed Isaiah a lot more. And this might be just like that. As we get closer and closer to the last days, we begin to see and comprehend these things a little bit better.
That's what most signs are, though. You don't know what they mean until they've happened or they're happening, because you didn't know that they were happening or happening, so you don't know the interpretation. So anybody before 20 years ago would have no clue what Ezra's vision meant or what was going on, because those events hadn't happened, so you couldn't equate it with anything in real life.
Right.
I wasn't paying attention to anything you were saying. all I could think about was how weird it is to have a bird on your shoulder.
Is she doing something that?
No, I wonder if they're wondering what in the world is that guy doing with his bird on his shoulder.
Well, we're gonna talk about an eagle.
Okay, this is about Ezra's eagle, and that's a bird, and an eagle is a bird.
And why does she have such poor posture? She's always like this. We want to see your smiling face.
Whip out the wings.
She's old. She's an old bird.
So what are you talking?
I'm going to talk about the vision. Okay, are we ready? We're going to talk about the vision. The vision is in what I forgot what it's called. Ezra's eagle. Okay.
Yeah, we're gonna slice that out.
Okay, the Ezra's eagle vision. Ezra's eagle vision is in 2nd Ezra chapters 11 and 12.
10.
No.
Well, there's important information in 10.
Well, I was just about to get to that.
Oh,
Yeah.
sorry.
There's some junk in 9, but 10.
Okay, but if you back up just one verse prior to chapter 11, the Lord or an angel or some sort of heavenly being is speaking to the prophet. And he says that he is going to show him a vision of the last days. Verse 59 says, "And so shall the highest show thee a vision of the high things, which the Most High will do unto them that dwell upon the earth in the last days." That is important to point out because there are many throughout the centuries who have interpreted this prophecy to be about Rome.
Or someplace else.
But this is about the last days. It also says that this is the same beast or kingdom that Daniel saw, which was also in the last days. And then the first verse of chapter 11 says, "Then I saw a dream, and behold, there came up from the sea an eagle, which had 12 feathered wings and 3 heads." So let's talk about this eagle. Let's talk about this.
It's your standard eagle, your standard golden eagle with the 3 heads.
So now that we have clarified that this eagle represents the most powerful kingdom in the last days, let's talk about how it's made. It's got 3 heads, which we'll talk about later, and it has feathers. It talks about having 12 normal feathers and then 8 contrary feathers. It uses that term contrary. So you have these feathers, the 12 and the 8, that represent the rulers who will reign over this kingdom. The size of the feathers, the difference between the normal and the contrary, the shorter and the normal, is how these rulers will be removed from their office, from their reign. The normal feathers will be removed naturally. Their time will end and it'll go to the next. But the contrary feathers, the shorter ones, will be removed in unnatural ways.
Unnatural.
And this interpretation, Rush's interpretation, is that they are removed from the secret organization that we know in the church as the secret, or the Gadianton robbers. So we have the normal feathers who complete their term naturally, and then the shorter contrary feathers that are removed unnaturally. To me, this vision talks about 2 main things. It talks about a sequence of To me, this vision talks about 2 main things. It talks about a sequence of the rulers of this great, powerful nation in the last days, and it also talks about the secret combination that will prove its ruin. In the vision, it goes through each of these feathers, and the feathers stand up when it's time to rule, and then it goes down. And Ezra identifies this sequence until it shows how this great, powerful nation falls. Michael B. Rush, the reason why we're talking about him, the reason why we've read his books, is that he identified that this sequence of rulers in Ezra's vision match perfectly the sequence in the presidency of the United States of America.
Beginning with
Hoover. And we can talk about that a little bit later, why Michael B. Rush believes that Hoover was the first one of these feathers. But there's some identifiers that Michael B. Rush caught. One is that in Ezra's vision, there was one feather that was twice as long as all the rest, which matched up perfectly with FDR, who was elected for 4 terms, whereas all the others were restricted to 2. The other one was there were 2 contrary feathers toward the middle of the timeline, which matched up with Kennedy, who was taken out in unnatural ways, as well as Nixon, who did not finish his term naturally either. He was
taken
removed.
out in an unnatural way.
Yeah, he was removed unnaturally.
Unnatural.
Ezra identified the last feather on the right side. No, he didn't identify that. Michael, see.
It was so funny. In verse 12, and Obama, wait.
The last feather, according to Michael B. Rush's interpretation, the last feather on the right side would represent Obama's administration. And then we turn to the other wing.
But that didn't take a lot of sleuthing or anything. He didn't have to have a dream or anything. If you just follow the feathers and you count the presidents, it just ends up that's how
right.
it is.
And then that's Obama. And then the wing ends. And you go over to this next wing, which starts with Trump's administration. And there are 2 feathers. Yeah. After those 2 feathers, everything changes.
Is there any significance in that change from the right wing to the left wing, depending on how you're looking at it, or the left wing to the right wing?
I don't know.
I know, being present in both administrations, I felt a difference. I felt a huge difference in how people interacted with each other. It got way more contentious. Mm-hmm. It changed.
The underlying secret organization, when that happened, that organization came out with a vengeance, and started trying to do anything it could, any power that it had to stop whatever was happening at the time.
There's a lot less behind the scenes.
Yeah.
Okay.
The color of the feather also changed.
It did.
Yeah.
It did.
Yeah.
It was a beautiful color.
It was orangey and kind of swirly.
Everybody was talking about
Beautiful.
It was the #1 feather on the whole eagle.
Everybody's talking about it. It was huge. It was a perfect feather.
You would never see a feather like that in China.
Yeah.
But I think that's the whole. I really like Rush's interpretation because it starts with Hoover, and it makes sense that it starts with Hoover. And throughout the whole theme, there is this. We didn't talk about the eagle heads. Did we talk about it?
We're
Oh, we're almost there.
Oh dear. Maybe I should.
I want somebody to explain the Hoover and why, and what organization was that? Oh no.
Listen.
Listen.
That's what Michael B. Rush said. Listen. Look.
Hello, friends. Hello, friends.
Look. Listen. Michael B. Rush was curious. He's like, why in the world didn't it start with George Washington? He should be the first feather. Why in the world did it start with Hoover? And what Michael B. Rush dug up was that Hoover was significant, and it might be related to this secret organization that is ultimately the downfall of this most powerful nation in the world. Hoover was one of the founders of the Council of the
Council on Foreign Relations.
The Council of Foreign Relations, yes. Which President Ezra Taft Benson identified in General Conference.
As the Great Conspiracy. There is no conspiracy theory in the Book of Mormon. It is a conspiracy fact. And along this line, I would highly recommend to you a new book entitled None Dare Call It, Conspiracy by Gary Allen.
I wish, that might be another video that we have to do when we dive into the Council on Foreign Relations, when it started, where it went, what it is now, what it has morphed into it. I mean, because I'm sure that organization obviously still exists.
The people are clamoring for that video. Where is our video on the Council on Foreign Relations? Where is it?
Well, essentially, what Michael B. Rush is alluding to is that the Gadianton robbers today is not called the Gadianton robbers. They're called the Council of Foreign Relations. That's what he is suggesting. And the founder, or one of the founders, was Herbert Hoover, which is why that first feather is his.
Surprised it wasn't Woodrow Wilson.
And another thing that it talks about, or what at least it shows, is this council was not set up for good purposes. It was set up for power, for gain, for money, for wealth. Otherwise, it wouldn't be the start of this downfall of the nation.
I'm ready to talk about the three heads.
Let's do it.
We should talk about the three heads.
Well, did we finish all the little feathers?
We talked about the two feathers.
Two contraries.
Trump and Biden. But after Biden's feather, everything changes, and it has everything to do with the three heads.
Wasn't Biden's feather just a little shorter, or
A little skiwampus.
I think it's very appropriate that we haven't talked about the heads, because this whole time the heads have been there, but they've been sleeping, right? They've been bowed, their eyes shut, closed. In other words, they're unseen to the people, but they're there.
And what I say unto you, I say unto all, watch.